Some claim that the Nazis were somehow left-wing. This is of course a pathetic attempt by the political right at distancing themselves from the worst excesses of their political tendencies. The Nazis were not left-wing. If the left versus right political divide is defined by one thing, it is defined by hierarchy. The more opposed to hierarchy something is, the more left-wing it is. The more supportive of hierarchy something is, the more right-wing it is. This is why capitalism, monarchy, fascism, and conservatism are all considered right-wing. They all seek to preserve or strengthen social hierarchies. This is why socialism, communism, and anarchism are all considered left-wing. They all seek to reduce or abolish social hierarchies. A right-wing position does not have to be completely supportive of hierarchy. It may simply exhibit a general support for hierarchy. A left-wing position does not have to be completely opposed to hierarchy. It may simply fall on the side of a political issue that is more hostile to hierarchy. When we think about the many political perspectives that are considered right-wing, most of them share a tendency to support hierarchy. When we think about the many political perspectives that are considered left-wing, most of them share a tendency to oppose hierarchy. The left-wing perspectives on issues ranging from gay rights and imperialism to racial inequality and poverty are consistently opposed to hierarchy, while the right-wing perspectives on these issues are consistently supportive of hierarchy. Far-right ideologies such as fascism and monarchism support extremely hierarchical societies. Far-left ideologies such as socialism and anarchism support the reduction and abolition of many hierarchies. The right wing is defined by a general support of hierarchy. The left wing is defined by a general opposition to hierarchy. This is the most consistent common feature of the views that we consider to be left-wing or right-wing. Hierarchy is key to understanding the left versus right political spectrum. By this logic, there is nothing left-wing about the Nazis. By this logic, the Nazis were not left-wing. The Nazis were very strong supporters of hierarchy. The Nazis were extremely racist. The Nazis were extremely sexist. The Nazis were extremely homophobic. The Nazis were extremely authoritarian. The Nazis were extremely anti-Semitic. The Nazis were extremely nationalistic. The Nazis were extreme supporters of hierarchy. The Nazis were far-right. You cannot have racism, sexism, homophobia, authoritarianism, anti-Semitism, and nationalism without having hierarchy. The Nazis supported all of these things to the extreme. They were extreme supporters of hierarchy. They were extremely right-wing. That is the reality. The political right often calls the Nazis left-wing in an attempt at staining the political left through association with the Nazis. All of the crimes committed by the Nazis originated not from occasional socialist rhetoric or Hitler's vegetarianism. All of the crimes committed by the Nazis originated from their far-right tendencies. Their racism, sexism, homophobia, authoritarianism, anti-Semitism, and nationalism. These right-wing tendencies were the cause of their depravity. The characteristics of Nazism, the racism and the homophobia, the nationalism and the anti-Semitism, the authoritarianism and the cult of personality are all extremely hierarchical. The characteristics of Nazism are extremely right-wing. The occasional usage of socialist rhetoric does not make the crimes of Nazism a consequence of socialism. The crimes of Nazism are an obvious consequence of extreme authoritarianism and nationalism. These are right-wing tendencies. That is the reality. They are associated with extreme hierarchy and are therefore very right-wing. It is sometimes claimed that the Nazis were somehow socialists. This is completely and utterly untrue. The Nazis did call themselves socialists, and North Korea calls itself democratic. Socialism describes worker ownership of and control over the means of production. Socialism describes a society that is governed by and for the working class. Nazism did not care about this goal. Nazism was characterized by an extremely authoritarian dictatorship. Such a thing is totally incompatible with worker control over and ownership of the means of production. Nazi Germany was not governed by and for the working class. Nazi Germany was governed by an extremely authoritarian political elite who terrorized and oppressed the working class and their strongest advocates. That is the reality. Nazism does not care about worker ownership of and control over the means of production. Nazism is defined by an extremely authoritarian government, something that is fundamentally incompatible with this pursuit. Nazism hates democracy. Nazism regards the people as too stupid to govern themselves. This is incompatible with worker ownership of and control over the means of production, which requires democracy. There is nothing socialist about Nazism. Nazism is defined by the dominance of a highly authoritarian political elite, something that is totally incompatible with worker ownership of and control over the means of production. The political right likes to claim that the crimes of Nazism were somehow connected to socialism. The Nazis were not socialists. However, even if they were, this would be irrelevant. None of the crimes committed by the Nazis had anything to do with socialism. The depravity of the Nazis was a consequence of racism, sexism, homophobia, anti-Semitism, nationalism, and authoritarianism. All of these ideological features are right-wing. All of these ideological features are championed by the modern political right. The crimes of the Nazis were a consequence of their far-right tendencies, not their occasional left-wing rhetoric. Nazism is not left-wing. Nazism is a far-right political ideology that supports massive hierarchy. The hideous depravity committed by Nazism was a consequence of its far-right tendencies. All claims to the contrary amount to historical revisionism. All claims to the contrary represent the political right weaponizing atrocities in an attempt at staining the political left. The political right looks at a pile of corpses and sees a tool for bashing the political left. The political right is happy to exploit the deaths of those murdered by far-right ideology to demonize the political left. The reality is that Nazism is a far-right ideology, and anyone with eyes can see it.